Tonight on Ground Zero, we open up the mystery, actually find a possibility of something strange going on the beaches of Oregon. The first story was delivered by Dave Masco, and according to his biography, he is an Air Force veteran who's filed stories from Washington, D.C., the Middle East, the Balkans, and Europe. Now he's a freelance writer based in Florence, Oregon. Masco's articles have appeared in European Stars and Stripes, the Washington Post, Rolling Stone, and other publications. From 1977 to 1999, he was a reporter for the Defense Department, and he says that he's worked with the likes of Walter Cronkite, Colin Powell, and Bob Hope. The only problem with Dave Masco is after I've sent him 2 or 3 emails, he does not want to come on this program. Nor did he meet Roger and myself in the South Beaches when we said, we'll be there, we want to meet with you. The only man that came forward was a man by the name of John Henry, who met us right there at Stonefield Beach. So we're going to bring John on with us right now. John, how you doing tonight?
Hey, pretty good, Clyde.
It's so good to have you on the show. We had a great time out there investigating this, and gosh, I was reading your stats, too. It's like I didn't realize you were such a celebrity, John. Can I say what you do? Or you did?
Sure.
You were an IFC fighter.
Actually, WPKO.
Oh, WPKO, okay.
WPKO and WVF.
Yeah, and you got some good stats. We did research on you after we got back, so
okay.
Great stats, John, and thank you so much for allowing us to come into your home, and thank you for all the information you were giving us, and God, and what we finally came up with was shocking after we did the investigating. So I want to ask you, what is it? I mean, you were telling me that there is a lot of UFO activity going on there in the South Beach area.
There is. There's definitely stuff going on.
So tell me a little bit about what you're seeing and what the locals have seen as well.
Anything from lights in the sky to lights on the water to lights in the water.
And you were telling me that you have seen also USOs, which are unidentified submerged objects in the water as well.
Yeah, that was South Beach, Lost Creek Park.
So is there in Lost Creek Park?
Yep.
The idea of the boxes, when were you first alerted to the box story?
That was, I believe, on, let's see, what day is 13th today?
Yeah.
I think it was the 9th.
So you're first alerted to the 9th, and how many people have come to the beach areas there near Brace Point and also near Stonefield since then?
More people than come here all year long, I think.
Okay.
A lot more than this neighborhood's used to.
And a lot of them are asking questions and poking around. Now, when you first heard the story, when you first read Masco's story, what was your first reaction to it?
Well, my first reaction was Braze Point. It says they can't be moved even when yanked with a 4-wheel drive truck pulling with heavy chains tied around them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't drive trucks on the beach down there.
No, you can't.
And Stonefield, you could get a truck on the beach, but I didn't see any trucks, and I can see from my front yard. And I can almost see right here from where I'm sitting in my living room. And
the thing that I thought was interesting was that I saw all the comments that were given, and people were saying, well, God, if it was a beach, a public beach, you think more people would get stuff on their cell phones, more people would take pictures, more people would do video of it. But after I got down there, I thought, God, who the hell would want to do it?
Yeah. And the problems of bringing a camera to an Oregon beach, I think you guys found out.
I know.
Quick,
oh, yeah.
They get packed full of sand. They get wet. I mean, you just cannot help it. It's windy. It's rainy. It's sandy. It's not a place to bring a nice camera.
No, and when we were down there,
when
we were down there, I was surprised that we were even able to get down as close as we did. I mean, we were right on the beach, but of course, I got hit with the water, and I thought I was going to get taken in, and the rocks are just. I mean, they're horrible to cross over, and I just don't see, I don't see how, if Masco got the pictures, how he got them, even though a lot of the locals we were asking around before we talked to you said that they are a reality, but then a lot of people were making these stories saying that something else was going on, and the boxes are gone because of some other stuff, and we'll get to that in a minute. But, and we were also talking about the tide and how it was able to bring things in and take things out.
Oh, yeah.
We actually watched and witnessed a huge log thrown from the water onto the beach and then immediately sucked in and thrown back. It was huge, and it appeared out of nowhere right when we were doing the investigation.
Yeah.
Does that happen all the time? I mean,
all the time.
So that was nothing.
We get stuff washing up here, just huge things, small things.
So the idea of these boxes being there is a remote possibility. However, you haven't seen one.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a picture of a box on the beach.
Right.
That is one thing we definitely know.
Right.
Now, is it Bray's Point? Actually, it looks like that could be, and that box would be right in front of my house.
Yeah. I mean, we looked right down where the boxes should be, and the only thing we saw was a little bit of some areas that looked like they were dug up, and then we found that all-seeing eye in the sand as well.
Yeah, down at Stonefield.
Yeah, that was pretty weird that we saw that. And
that's kind of strange.
Yeah, it was. And we actually, there was some young people there that were also looking as well, and they told us all about it, and they said, come take a look at it. Roger snapped a picture of it. It's in my website right now, along with pictures of me and you on the beach looking, and some of the square-looking box-like rocks that we had seen, we thought were and a number of people said they were seeing things floating around in the ocean, too. We're going to get more information out of John tonight. We were so happy to have John with us. John is a local there, lives right there at Bray's Point. We had the view of everything, got down to the beach. It was a treacherous way of getting down there, though. We don't know how cameras could have gotten down there to get pictures, and no, a lot of people wouldn't be able to take those pictures, and heck, once you've taken a picture of a box, what more can you take pictures of? Rocks? Take a look at the pictures that we took. Roger took, actually, when we were down there. Roger Couldnt is with us as well from the Northwest Coast Recon. We're talking about what is going on in the southern beaches of Oregon. It's been reported that UFOs have been seen there, and John confirms that, but they've left behind something else. And and those things are these strange boxes. And we'll be back. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
FM News 101 KXL.
Little boxes on the hillside. Little boxes made of ticky-tacky. Little boxes on the hillside. Little boxes all the same. There's a green and a pink and a blue one and a yellow one, and they're all made out of ticky-tacky, and they all look just the same.
It's no mystery what happened here.
It was completely still and making noise like hissing or sizzling. The others are further down south, and I don't remember what towns.
A solid color. One looked like two lights really close together.
Definitely got me on edge. If you're along the western coast, you might want to look into this right now.
Up along the coast in this area, there are these strange metal boxes everywhere. People don't know, what they are. All they know is they're very heavy and they're emitting some sort of noise or glow.
Went to the university where they were put in boxes, and they came out just the same.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. Tonight, the strange boxes on the coast. What are they? Were they left behind by UFOs? Well, we've got stories all over the internet saying that something's happened. So Roger Couldnt and I decided to go investigate. We hopped in the truck, drove down to the beaches, and we found out that trying to find those boxes was harder than just posting it on the internet, because those areas are pretty treacherous. The rocks are horrible, the waves are high, and if anybody got down there to take a picture, they're pretty lucky to be down there. And so Dave Mesko is the guy that first broke the story. It's still weird what he's talking about. I've asked him to come on this program. He has not come on, but he did send me an email saying that he said he was going to get back with me and give me some more information, let me know more. But in the meantime, all we got is what Roger and I did when we were doing our investigation. And we talked with a lot of the locals, but it was John who stepped up to the plate. John Henry's with us tonight, stepped up to the plate and gave us more information, all the information we needed. Can you describe some of the UFO sightings? I remember when we talked with Marcy, who was the gas station attendant, she told us about, she gave us the full description. She said there have been UFO sightings. They have sky watchers there. The UFO sightings have increased. They don't know what's going on. Military there increasing, seeing a lot of military activity going on. She said that the people who saw the boxes, they claim that when the boxes come in, they're welded shut. They're about, what would you say, are they 28 inches, John?
They're supposed to be 5 by 5 by 20 inches.
Okay, so they're 5 by 5, 20 inches, big enough to hold something. We don't know what, but, welded shut all the way around. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's supposedly what the dimensions are and what they are. I mean, it's a box. You put something in a box. That's what boxes are for. And
there is a sound that's coming out of the boxes, according to Marcy. Marcy told us that there was a sound coming out. She said it sounded like a sizzling sound or some sort of strange sound. What did you hear?
That I didn't hear anything.
Okay. So you didn't hear anything from any of the boxes or anything else. You just heard that the boxes show up.
Yeah.
So tell me about some of the UFO sightings in the area. I want to find out give me some of your UFO examples that people are seeing out there at the beach right now.
Well, some of my friends are fishermen, and many of them have the same story where they're out fishing and a light comes directly up from below the boat and pretty much engulfs the boat in light from below. And we'll follow them around for anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour, and then go off in whatever direction they go off with the light still on, and they can see this thing underneath the boat. They just see the light underneath the boat, and the light takes off.
So it goes underneath the boat and then takes off from the boat, or does it?
It comes up directly underneath. All of a sudden, it comes from directly underneath the boat, straight up underneath the boat.
Does it shoot out of the water into the sky?
No.
Okay.
No, it stays. They stay submerged. But I've heard that same story from several of my friends that are fishermen, and they're straight up guys.
What about the arcing blue lights that they were seeing above the horizon?
Well, now that very well could be the welding. They have welders on the fishing boats, and there has been a lot of fishing boats during this time. Last night and tonight, I look out there at the ocean right now. I'm looking at the ocean right now, and I don't see one boat out there. Which is kind of strange, because all of a sudden there's no boats out there. And when they're out there, they're out there, and I don't know why they're not.
And in fact, when we were out there at the beach with you, we saw something sitting out there that was a boat, but it didn't have. What did you say? It didn't have. What did you say, Roger? What was wrong with the boat you saw?
Well, I was a fisherman out of Astoria for quite a while, and out of Dutch Harbor, Alaska, and most boats that run off the west coast run what they call outriggers, and I didn't see any outriggers sticking off the sides of that boat. So, and on the back of the boat, it looked like there was a stationary platform crane on the stern of the boat, and it was kind of odd to me, because bottom fish boats and shrimp boats, they either have outriggers and they have one or two winches up against the wheelhouse, which they pull the nets in with, and I just seen a stationary girder type crane on the back deck.
So when we're talking UFOs or USOs, John, let's set aside the idea that these are little gray men or that they're alien.
Right.
What do you think's going on out there in the southern beaches?
As far as
the USOs, UFOs, boxes perhaps washing up on shore, all that. What would you say would be the logical thing that's going on?
Well, like I said, boxes are meant to have stuff put in them. I mean, it's very simple. It's a box, you put something in it. What are they putting in the boxes? Could be a number of things. Could be drugs from the cartel. being transported up.
Yeah.
It could be bodies. It could be toxic waste.
Now, when we were there at Bray's Point, we saw a lot of debris. Someone else was saying that there was debris that looked like it could have been from Japan. Is that stuff washing up now?
I went looking for the boxes again this morning. There was a good low tide this morning. The tide went way out, and there was the usual amount of debris, but no, nothing with Japanese writing on it or anything like that.
Right. Somebody was saying in the chat room that there's another area where they found something that looked like it had Japanese writing on it, washed up. A lot of driftwood up on the side of the beach, a lot of rocks, a lot of other problems that got in the way of the investigation when we were there. The rain and the weather, of course. Has the weather calmed down at all?
No. It was a nice day today, but it's pretty dark and cloudy out there right now.
So we were discussing, when we had the opportunity to discuss when we were in your home, we were discussing what these lights could be. And while the UFO activity, everyone was unanimous, saying there is strange lights in the sky, that there's strange things going on. But one of the witnesses, or some of the people we talked with, were saying that there was military activity going on. That they've been seeing these helicopters, black ones, around the area, investigating things. In fact, somebody's saying, even going as far as saying they saw these boxes being loaded on in helicopters and probably flown out to Newport Airport, and right there at the facility there, and then loading them elsewhere, maybe going to another facility somewhere up the coast.
The only thing that I have seen is the Coast Guard helicopter, which flies up and down here twice a day.
Right.
It flies from Newport down to North Bend, then they change crews and fly back.
Right.
Well, I got a call tonight. I don't remember if I told you this, but a guy named Ryan from Lincoln City called me tonight just before I came into the studio, and he told me that he was going up and down the beach, and he noticed that the Coast Guard helicopter has been making more than 2 trips. He noticed it's been making about 4 trips up and down the beach, and he says it's kind of odd. They usually have their set 2-trip or whatever, 2 shifts a day. But he said he's been seeing that helicopter more than usual today, and for the past 3 days. So that's in Lincoln City. That's not down by Bray's Point. So
yeah.
Well, that whole area. It seems like the further north you go, the less you hear of people knowing about it. In fact, we went up closer to Newport, and we asked around, and nobody knew. But there was this one guy that kept a pretty reserved attitude about it. He was in the back, and he kind of wanted to observe what was going on. He just sat in the back area. We were eating clam chowder because we were hungry after the whole thing at the beach. We were eating clam chowder at this restaurant, and we asked the waitress. We asked a few other people, and they seemed a little bit like kind of apprehensive to talk about it. And then said, "This guy over here may know something." And he goes, "I know enough, but I just want to sit back and watch everything else." And we said, "What do you know?" And he didn't. What he did is he actually ignored my question, and he buried his face in his book.
yeah, he did.
And I thought, this guy doesn't want to talk. What can I do? And so finally we decided we just pick everything up and go, get in the truck and take off. We drove back around 6:30, and we were back in town about 9. But as we were moving along after we left you, John, we were asking more and more questions, and we got more and more people telling us stories about possible transporting, that these boxes had been taken away. One guy even said that he observed a group of people walking up and down the beach. One guy in particular, he said, had his face covered up, had a black overcoat on, was looking around. That perhaps that we will never find the boxes now because they've been transported and carried off. What would you say to that, John?
Well, there's a good chance of that. Absolutely, of them being hauled off and hauled out of here, or the ocean taking them away. I mean, you saw what that. Big giant log, how that got tossed around. And, the coastline, the beaches change, hourly.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So absolutely anything is possible. One of the things that caught my attention is when I was talking to Frankie, the head of the fire and rescue.
Yeah, let's talk about the fire and rescue and how police and everybody else would not cooperate with our investigation. Go ahead, John. Tell them what happened.
Well, I asked Frankie, I said, so, what do you think these things are? There's these boxes, and they're supposed to be glowing and humming and make making all these, and she stepped right on top of my words and just said, "They're probably NOAA buoys. They're probably just NOAA buoys."
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm, just like she was telling me what they were.
Yeah. Don't question us. We know what they are. They are NOAA buoys. They are weather monitors. Don't ask questions. We won't tell you anymore. And they were very. We're talking with John Henry, and we're going to find out more from John Henry, a local there in the area. Law enforcement and the fire department were very, very mum when questions were asked of them. What's going on out on the beaches? And they said they're NOAA buoys, and that's where they left it. They didn't want us to do any more questioning. They told us that's what they are, and that's all you are seeing, which are monitors for the weather. Interesting. 503-417-9595 or 1-877-733-1011. No cooperation from law enforcement, no cooperation from the fire department, no information from them. However, locals saying, yes, there are boxes, yes, there is UFO activity, but some strangeness is happening. We'll be back with more. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
Got an opinion? Call KXL now. 503-417-9KXL or 877-733-1011. Or with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero Radio on FM News 101 KXL. Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
Just looking over the Godlike production site, people in the forum are saying, what's that annoying ping pong noise on the website? The annoying ping pong noise is the chat room. Just turn off the little knob at the bottom that says mute the sound, and that's how you get rid of the ping pong noise. Dave, you wanted to tell me something. You've been busy in the newsroom doing something. Tell me what you're up to.
Well, I heard you guys talking about, the topic that you're on here, and so I thought I'd call Coast Guard Station Uquinta Bay, which, having lived in Newport for 3 years, I would call during the morning to find out, title and this and that, whatever was going on. A couple times during a show, I did a 2-hour show there in the morning for news and information, and right now the word is they would have to, I asked specifically moments ago why there were 4 instead of just 2. The down and back, there's down and back, down and back. Uh-huh. And he said, I'll have to refer you to someone else. And he could not answer that. He put me on hold, and then he said, nope, we're not going to be able to have anybody talk to you until tomorrow.
They're not going to comment on why they're increasing it.
Someone will, tomorrow,
up.
Yeah. It's like, you know how they have to prepare a statement, maybe?
Well, maybe, but I just find it interesting that they wouldn't give you a direct answer, because usually they're very good about that.
And they know what's going on. You know that information is passed from
of course they know what's going on. So. There's maybe what we're doing is we're breaking a story that we're not supposed to be breaking, but I know that, look, I'm not saying that this, we'll talk to you later about this, is a cover-up for aliens. Please don't get me wrong. What it is something is happening there, and we're trying to figure out what. And we have some ideas that we're going to tell you about later on, but that's very interesting that the Coast Guard wouldn't tell you.
I don't want to infer that either. Thank you for pointing that out. But I did call them and did not get any kind of answer whatsoever.
It just seems to me that, whenever a show like this does a show about this type of topic, and there are UFO sightings, as John says, there are things to investigate, as John has been saying. Roger said the same thing. We went down there. We were there. We saw what was happening. We heard what the locals had to say. Yeah, go ahead, John.
The one comment that really got me from Frankie from Yach's Fire Department was, she said, we've had to have the military come down here and blow things up before.
Whoa. And you didn't even talk about that, did you? You didn't bring that up.
Yeah, I did.
What'd you say?
I said you had blow things up. What kind of things? And she didn't.
The military had to. She mentioned the military having to come down and blow things up.
I do remember the whale.
The only thing I remembered was the whale.
The whale
blew up down in Florence.
Exactly.
What a horrible mess that was.
Yeah, and they screwed that up big time.
Yeah.
So, but they talk about how they had to come down and blow things up.
I was in shock when she said that. I was like, "Oh, you just have to have the military come down here and blow something up?" What the heck is so?
That's super strange.
Important or dangerous that you need to blow it up?
Right. Well, we've got, now you hear it. Our news guy tried to get a hold of the Coast Guard. They wouldn't comment on their on their increased patrollings. They wouldn't comment on what's happening out there. And they said they'd get with us tomorrow on this, which they probably won't. We've got the commentary from the police and fire down there. We also tried. They wouldn't talk to us. They thought that we were crazy for trying to investigate it. And they kind of acknowledged, there were a lot of people, they're kind of aware that something's going on, but they don't want to say exactly what is happening. And I'm getting to the point now where I'm saying, well, do we believe what Masco wrote? A lot of people there were saying not to. What do you think about, you've read Masco's stuff. Do you think he's on the level, or do you think he's lying about some of it?
Well, the only thing the only thing I believe is there's a picture of a box on the beach. Yeah, it looks like a metal box. It looks like it could be the beach in front of my house. As far as the rest of the things that he's saying are just outrageous. I mean, can't even be yanked out by a four-wheel drive. Well, okay, why would you say that when you can't get a truck there to begin with?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It doesn't make sense.
So,
and you've seen, some of the other pictures from Bray's Point don't even look like they were taken recently. That's another thing.
That was the very first. That was one of the very first things that I looked at. I'm like, that is summertime low tide. That is not now. And I Googled metal boxes on the beach, everything I could, and Googled all the Google pictures that I could. I was blue in the face, and the only pictures that I found were from just from 3 and 4 days ago.
John Henry. We're going to keep you over for a little bit longer, talk to you more about what's going on. Also, Roger Cluten's with us tonight from Northwest Coast Recon. We're talking about the strange case of the boxes, the South Beach areas of the Oregon coast. Look at Bray's Point, Stonefield Beach. These are very remote areas where you camp. These aren't places where you go and frolic on the beach with your dog and your family. These are areas that are pretty treacherous if you're not careful. And they say, well, actually, Dave Mesco said, there are boxes that have washed up on shore, that he's taken pictures of them. There are a few more. He keeps releasing them. He has told me he's going to give me more details exclusively, but he has not called me, nor has he appeared on this program tonight. If you have an idea of what's going on, or if you've been down to the beach and have seen anything, 503-417-9595 or 1-877-733-1011. We'll be back with more revelations coming up on Ground Zero.
FM News 101 KXL.
You are about to experience Ground Zero, an on-speaker experience. Cuts through the crowd. Just when you thought you were safe.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Jimmy.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said, give up, give up, give up, give up, give up.
Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. Before we get to the boxes, I want to remind you that Oscar, Portland Gold Buyers, is having his seminar on the 25th of this month. He's going to teach you the right ways to invest in precious metals. And like I said, if you go to portlandgoldbuyers.com and click on the upper right-hand corner to get into the seminar, just type in Clyde space now. You'll get $10 off. It's regularly $50 to get in. It's going to be $40 to get in. Also, if you want to call him, it's 971-222-3435. That's 971-222-3435. He just told me he's got gold pandas now. I can't remember how much gold is in them. I think it's like half an ounce of gold is in these pandas he's got available. They're really inexpensive. You can pick them up if you want to invest in gold. He's got a bunch of them. So once again, 971-222-3435. That's 971-222-3435. Or go to portlandgoldbuyers.com and click on the upper right-hand corner to get into the seminar. That seminar is $50, but he will give it to a Ground Zero listener for $40. And that's a good deal. So be sure and contact Oscar, 971-222-3435. Tonight we talk about the strange boxes that have been found or that were found on the South Coast. And I want to make it clear, and I think we need to make it clear before we get back to John. There are a lot of people in the chat room that's saying, it's 2012. There's no excuse for not getting better pictures of these boxes. Roger, what do you have to say to that?
I want them to go down and walk the beach with their camera and try to get a picture of anything down there. It's also, we've, told you, everybody over and over, that the boxes were not there on the beach. They've already been moved, picked up, or washed back out. So if you get down there and there's no boxes, what are you going to take a picture of?
There's nothing there. We took a picture of black rocks. We took them from far away. We had to look. It's 2012. There's no excuse. This is what I saw in the chart. 2012. There's no excuse why people can't get pictures of these boxes. Yes, there is. It's called trying to get down to the area where the boxes are. You're looking at a 30-foot drop from these high areas into a rocky, jagged rocks, rocky area with very little beach to speak of. And we're looking at stormy weather with rain coming down hard, wind blowing. And high tide. And you're looking at huge waves that go anywhere from 8 to, 20 feet?
Depending on where you're at.
Yeah. I mean, I got down there. I almost got taken by a wave. I mean, and I promised I wouldn't even get that close. And I wasn't that close. It actually came out of nowhere.
We're pretty much up on the rocks when it came up.
So you just sit and say, here, little boxy, pose for me now, and you're not going to get a box picture. I mean, the guy's lucky he got the pictures that he got, as far as I'm concerned. Even then, we don't even know if they are the boxes or if they are the pictures. So, I mean, that's the thing, is that we have locals that say, yes, boxes were there. We have locals saying, yes, UFOs were there. We have people saying, we don't know what's going on. We have the fire department saying, back off, they're NOAA buoys. We have the police, back off the NOAA buoys. We have the Coast Guard not wanting to contact us. And we have the guy who wrote the article saying he has an eye infection, he doesn't want to come on the radio. So this is what we have. We have confirmation of all this stuff. But look, if you want us to pick up a box that can't be picked up anyway, a box that's been welded shut that may even contain something that we don't want to pick up, why don't you go do it? Why don't you go down to the beach, hop in your car, I'm sure you can pay for the gas, drive down there. It's a nice 3-4 hour drive from Portland. Go ahead and drive down there and see if you find anything. See if you're willing to go in and do that. It's difficult to do. And I just don't know if people understand that, John. I don't know if people understand just how the beach is set up. I think they think there's hot dog stands and kite flying all year round down there.
I tell you what, my name and number's all over the web. So if they're looking for these boxes, I'd be more than happy to go help them look and show them when and where to look. And
you helped us out quite a bit, John. He's more than willing to help. I'll tell you that.
In fact, he has posted his phone number all over the forums where it's been talked about, and he says, I will be your guide. John says, I will be your guide. I have my sledgehammer. I have my tools to come and take these boxes and pick them up. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Has anybody took you up on your offer?
Nobody. I couldn't believe it. I posted my phone number and my name and my address on the web, and not one person has called me.
They're all armchair warriors.
They're all armchair warriors saying, this is all BS. It's a big hoax. It's a hoax. That's why I can't stand these skeptics, because you know exactly who they are. They're these people who sit down with their Doritos and their big super 40-ounce gulp, and they're telling you, well, I don't think it's real. Well, then, okay, why don't you go down there and find out if the locals say it's real or not? We have. Why don't you go down and see if you can get into the beaches? We have, and we got stuck. We were stuck for a while because when you were taking the tour.
I was wondering where you guys were.
We got stuck. It was horrible. I mean, I got hit by the wave. We got stuck in the truck, and then you're hightailing it up the road, and I'm like thinking, I wonder if he's thinking we just lost him or something. But It was crazy. I mean, it was almost like, an Indiana Jones type thing, but, Indiana Jones light, because I didn't realize it'd be that difficult to get down to see some boxes.
Yeah, it's walking on those rocks down there, especially at Stonefield. That's why they call it Stonefield. And in front of my house, until you get to the flat sand, it's ankle twisting stuff all the way.
Yeah,
and it can be some extremely rough terrain. And like today was a beautiful day, and tide went way out. I went and looked for them some more. I'm of the opinion that, those pictures are recent pictures. I didn't find them anywhere else on the web when I Googled Google Images. The only images that I found of those were from a few days ago. So I believe it's a real picture, and but the story around it, the story around it doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't. And that's the thing, is I want to get Masco. And Masco has written me back. He says he's got an eye infection, but he says he's got more stuff that he wants to tell me. So who knows? Maybe we'll get him on the air.
You know what I found? I found a box in front of Dave Masco's house. And it's buzzing and humming and glowing. Everybody, go down to Dave Masco's house.
Bug him.
He lives in Florida.
Yeah, he does. Let's talk to Jason right now. Hi, Jason. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde. How you been?
Doing well.
I got a couple theories about this. Either one, it's a gift from Allah. This is like a little mini Mecca, and you made the pilgrimage down there and did the circles, and you should maybe make a wish or something. You're going to be blessed in the future.
Right.
Another theory I have is it's symmetrical. It's completely level with the sand. And if it was to wash in, it would more than likely wash in at an angle or tilted to one side or the other, which makes the person think that it was actually a hole was dug and it was carefully lowered in there and then filled with sand, which would make it so heavy.
Not necessarily. If it was bottom heavy, you could come in just, because we watched how logs come in, and they come in flat. They don't come in angled. None of them came in angled. Not one.
Yeah, it's a real mystery. But it takes me back to the water serpent, all the Chinese New Year, all these references to water, these black boxes, a reference to water. Even Whitney Houston, you got another couple references to water in there. Drowning, and she was last seen in a swimming pool.
I almost was last seen on the beach.
Yeah.
I almost was last seen going, help me. That's where I was last Sunday day. So, yeah, I'd be joining Whitney Houston up there, for sure.
One thing about the picture of the box on the beach is it looks to me like the corners have been, like the box washed up and had been ran over by some waves a few times.
Maybe. Because
around the edges, there's the, what do you want to call it? The way the box is kind of set down in the sand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, it doesn't look like the box was just hauled in there and then set on the sand and somebody took a picture of it.
And we have more water references with the Strait of Hormuz and the Marine Amphibious Assault Operation Bold Alligator, which is a serpent, and it was a water-referenced training exercise.
Yeah, well, all that stuff's going on, Jason. I know you're looking at the coincidences. I really appreciate it. We're going to go now to Ryan. Hi, Ryan. You're on Ground Zero.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. What's up, buddy?
Not much. I mainly want to call in your comments of vehicles not being able to go on the beach. Definitely agree with that for Bray's point, but I went down there today.
Okay.
Took all kinds of photos. I didn't see any boxes, but I got photos of all the beach, and I uploaded a video on the YouTube, so if anybody wants to see what it looks like, they can see.
Great.
But when I went to Stonefield Beach, there was a barrier which was movable. I could have picked it up and moved. But
they had the beach closed when we were there, and we moved it as well, Ryan. You're right.
Oh, yeah. Well, I went out there past the barrier, and there were tire tracks on the beach.
Really?
There were tire tracks on the beach today?
They were, and they were the size of a truck. The tire tracks were.
Oh, they crossed over the berm, the little dune?
Yes, they crossed over the little dune right onto the little beach, and then they just vanished right there.
What? Okay, so the tracks... Okay, this is weird. So the tracks came over the huge dune that's difficult to get over, that we couldn't get over, we got stuck in. And then they got down to the beach. They got down to the beach, and then The tracks were there, and then they just disappeared?
Yeah, at Stonefield Beach, as you pull in, you come up to the little barrier, walk past it, and the crest on but that you have to go over onto the beach isn't but like 4 feet. It's not that bad.
Well, it's bad for a truck. You can center a truck there. We could have centered our truck. You can center a truck on 4 feet, Ryan. You know that.
Yeah, it's possible. It just kind of depends on the angle you go and all that kind of truck you got.
You're a good driver,
the
yeah.
tracks were there, so somebody was definitely able to get out on that
tracks,
beach.
Let me get this straight. The tracks were not in the parking lot because there's the parking lot right next to the beach.
They were going out past the barrier, right past the driveway, over the crest, onto the sand, the area where the water is able to reach, and that's where they were gone as if they'd washed away.
Huh.
That's amazing.
Somebody was being naughty.
What time of day was this, Ryan?
Noon.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a nice day.
Or hour and a half after low tide, so it wasn't so bad.
That's interesting. Well, Ryan, thank you for that. That's interesting to know because it's pretty. You say it's not difficult. I say it's difficult to get over that area. It's not. I mean, whoever did it was really, really wanting to get to that area.
Yeah, it was like.
Yeah, I mean that's.
You could
the whole area.
drive
So
a
if anybody
truck.
wants,
onto Stonefield, it's illegal to drive any vehicles on the beach around here. But in front of my house, there's just absolutely no way you're going to get a vehicle, except maybe from the campground in a monster truck, and I haven't seen any monster trucks around here. So yeah, how they say, it can't even be moved, but when yanking with a 4-wheel drive.
That's amazing. Ryan, I thank you for calling and telling us about those tracks going in. That's really weird that they got in there. I appreciate it. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. That is really weird, I swear. I mean, I just don't know how. But then again, I'm kind of timid, when you're with a vehicle and you decide you want to go over a 4-foot, berm, then go down into the area, and how the hell are you going to get out of there with that wet sand is beyond me. So they must have had a 4-wheel drive or something to get in there.
Oh, yeah.
Because it would have been too difficult with just a regular truck. John Henry's with us. He's a local there. The South Beach area. Braze Point actually got a house right there. You can look over both beaches, Stonefield and Braze Point. You can take a look at what's going on down there with all the rocks and the debris that's there. Just an amazing, an amazing place, but also a very difficult place to get in and maybe find those boxes. Very difficult, but we made an attempt. We got down to the beach. We were able to get around down there and look around. So several other people were down there, too, looking for them as well. 503-417-9595 or 1-877-733-1011. We'll be back with more details of what's happening down there after this.
FM News 101 KXL.
Everyone is in on the secrets, and big things are being planned. Call Clyde Lewis now. Ground Zero.
So it's really interesting. I was looking at the web the other day, and, when I had the guys on from Legal Shield to talk about Legal Shield and the idea that I wanted to, start up and be a part of it, protect myself, because I didn't want to have identity theft or any of those problems. And I wanted to have somebody to back me up if I needed a lawyer, and I didn't want to have to pay all kinds of money. And I thought, when would I ever, need to use a lawyer? I'm not litigious or anything like that. Well, that was until I found out that there's this guy on the internet who has ClydeLewis.com. And it's the URL that I used to have Ground Zero sat on. It was ClydeLewis.com. And I noticed that what had happened is when I was in the hospital recovering from cancer, I was unable to buy the domain name ClydeLewis.com and re-secure it because I wasn't able to. It basically expired before I had a chance to get to it. Well, this guy from England gets a hold of it. And so now he's misrepresenting me by saying that I endorse his DJ products. ClydeLewis.com. It says Clyde Lewis DJ products that he sells at ClydeLewis.com. Well, I'm on the air right now, and I'm going to officially put him on notice that if he doesn't take those down, then I'm going to stick the lawyers I have with this company, this Legal Shield. I'm going to stick those Legal Shield lawyers on him because I now have the opportunity to do that. I never had it before, but now I have the opportunity. I'm going to have a nice little letter sent to him saying that if he doesn't stop using my name to endorse his DJ products, I will most certainly sue him. And so that's why it's good to have lawyers on your side, especially lawyers with LegalShield.com, because they will send him a notice saying that he needs to stop it. Because I tried to be nice to him in the first place, saying, I want my domain name back for my website, ClydeLewis.com, and he refused to give it to me. He said, well, I'll sell it back to you. And when I said, well, how much will you sell it to me for? He said, $500. I said, I didn't pay that much for the domain name, and I don't know why you want to sell it to me for $500. I said, I was sick. Why would you do this? You're taking advantage of a situation. He says, well, first come, first served fare. And I said, okay, fine. I figured, yep, you got the domain name. You got it out from underneath me. Good job, guy. You beat me to the punch. You got me when I couldn't get to it, when I was laying in the hospital, and I couldn't take care of my situation. So you took it out from underneath me. Okay, you win this round. Then, as I'm doing a search the other day for groundzero, because I wanted to see what was going on with Clyde Lewis and groundzero, the group that does the puppets, who are still a mystery to me, and we'll find out eventually who did that. I was looking at it, and I saw ClydeLewis.com, and then I saw that I was endorsing his DJ products now. And I'm not endorsing them. So that's kind of, I guess, leaning towards the identity theft thing, where somebody is using my identity to push their products, and they've done it without my permission. So, yeah, I think there's a legal case to happen. By the way, if you go to groundzero.ls.com, there will be an introductory video for Legal Shield, and then you can contact my representative who works with Legal Shield to help you get set up. If you want to buy the service, it starts as little as $16, $17 a month, or if you want to become an agent, they have that available too. A lot of people saying they need work. Here's a great way to make money from home selling this Legal Shield, this prepaid legal. It's amazing. So go to my website at groundzero.ls.com. That's groundzero.ls.com. Watch the video and call the representatives. I'm certainly going to be using Legal Shield in the future for this situation with my domain name. It will help you out with other things too. Once again, groundzero.ls.com, and call my representative today to start Legal Shield. Help you, protect you from all the other things you just don't want to get into, like big law problems. Coming up, we'll talk more about these boxes at the beach, and we'll also throw out some theories that we have about what it may be, because there are a lot of people who have claimed that there's something else going on, and it doesn't make sense, but when you really try to work it out, it kind of does. Something's going on. 503-417-9595 or 1-877-733-1011. We'll be back with more. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
FM News 101 KXL.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero Radio on FM News 101 KXL.
There's a green one, and a pink one, and a blue one, and a yellow one, and they're all made out of ticky-tacky, and they all look just the same.
Something is going on. Something is going on.
At Stonefield Beach.
Something is going on. Something is going on.
At Stonefield Beach.
Something is going on. Something is going on.
Walking up down the beach, say they saw those square things floating in the water, or at least being tossed in the high waves, the high ocean there. So I don't know. I mean, I just think that it's really kind of bizarre that we do have confirmation of UFO sightings. We have confirmation of at least some strange anomaly. Watch. Yeah, there it goes.
The way the ocean changes around here and the beaches change, it's very possible that within 8 hours, within the tide change, that I've seen entire logs disappear and wash up somewhere else, get buried by sand.
So the boxes wouldn't be any exception. They could be taken away and washed away too.
Absolutely, especially something that's only supposedly 20 inches tall.
There it is. Straight out. Taken away.
There it is. There they are. Right above us.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. Tonight we're discussing the strange boxes at Stonefield Beach, Rays Point, a place that's legendary for alien UFO sightings, lizard men. In fact, Chris Carter of the X-Files did his first episode about alien abductions, and it was centered right there in Rays Point. And tonight we have a local there. John Henry is on the program with us discussing what has been going on down there. It's all based on Dave Masco's writing in the Examiner, which we have all determined, and you have too, right, John? We've determined that most of what he's saying, a lot of it is exaggerated. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Somebody was saying that one of the scientists that he speaks of doesn't even exist.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, this in the article, if you want to call it an article, in what he writes, he says, mysterious box found at Stonefield Beach. Then it's at Brays Point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 2 different places.
Exactly.
You know?
They're close together. I mean, they're close within a mile's distance, but still.
And I just happen to be right in the middle, right between the 2.
Mm-hmm. But see, that's the thing is that this is where when we went back to your place, we were doing some talking, you and I and Roger. Yeah. We were all sitting around discussing some things, and what we were discussing is that you look at his background, Masco's background, and you look that he used to write or he used to report for the military, and that that he has been. Writing, he writes with the likes of Walter Cronkite, and he worked with Colin Powell and several other people. And, we started thinking that maybe this whole idea of inferring that UFOs are responsible for big boxes being dropped on the beach is kind of a way to discredit the entire story. Wouldn't you agree?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It definitely could add. I mean, to some people, myself, I believe in a lot of things, UFOs included.
I do too.
And it just depends on who the person you're talking to, what they're, what they believe.
Well, I don't believe that aliens would leave behind a calling card.
They could come swoop down and pick them up and take them back with them.
Yes, they can.
Wanted them.
And so that's why I'm thinking, that if an alien wanted to leave an ominous calling card, he certainly wouldn't leave behind black boxes that can't be found or can be found, that it's still species to whether or not they exist. I don't think that'd be the case.
Yeah.
And I certainly, is like when I'm talking to people and we're doing interviews with people on the way. We talk with you. You were the best one we've had, but a lot of people saying, yes, the boxes are there. I've seen the boxes. They're strange. And then, of course, comes the whole idea of the Coast Guard and everybody like denying things, and the military people saying, well, I saw military craft flying over. They were loading stuff. They probably took it to the airport. I'm beginning to think that if these boxes are welded, we're watching something else going on that's rather bizarre. And I brought that up to you. I told you. I said that those lights that people are seeing could be arc welders.
Yeah, they have welders out on the boats. They use them when they need to use them. They could be doing just about anything out there.
Yeah, go ahead.
From, like I said, putting in dead bodies. They just pulled a human head up in a net in Newport. Some of the fishermen were telling me.
Really?
Yeah.
So does this happen all the time? Do people try to put bodies in boxes and throw them over boats?
I have heard of people taking bodies out and wrapping them in chains and dropping them down to the bottom, and sometimes pieces of them break loose and wash up on the shore.
So let's think for a minute here. So okay, we have a guy who writes for this online Examiner. He gets paid to do it. I'm sure he's getting money to do it. He writes this story, this outrageous story. A lot of it doesn't make sense, but it's based on some truth, not entire truth, but some truth.
Yeah, I believe there's a box.
Okay.
I believe there's a picture of a box on a beach. I don't know if it's Stonefield or it looks kind of like Brays Point. It looks like in front of my house.
Okay.
There's so little to go off of.
So we confirm that the picture of the box is in the location where they say it's supposed to be. Okay. We confirm once again. We confirm we confirm that people are seeing UFOs and USOs in the general vicinity of Stonefield Beach and Brays Point. Am I right?
Right.
We can confirm that the locals are saying that some strange things happening. We can confirm that the fire department and the police department have decided not to talk to us, right?
Yeah, and when they do that, I'm a pretty perceptive guy, and the way some of the fire department spoke with me, it was like they weren't responding. They were telling me what to do and what to think. It's like.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we got that. I just want to make sure that we make these things clear to people who are listening tonight, because I'm looking at the chat room and I'm trying to figure out if we're making ourselves clear. So we're clear about that they're trying to tell you what's going on. They're saying they're NOAA buoys or something else. Okay, so that's a fact.
They're NOAA buoys, and she said, we've had to have the military come out here and blow things up like that before.
Okay, so there's actually a reference from out of nowhere, out of the blue, saying we've had the military here before to blow things up.
To blow things up? Well, they quit blowing up animals a long time ago, like whales that wash up on the beach.
Right, so what would they be coming in? Why would they want to be coming in blowing things up unless something that's washing up on the beach needs to be blown up?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why when we were talking over, and then of course we have some hearsay about military activity on the beach, about men showing up, loading stuff onto helicopters, landing them at Newport Airport. And we went up to Newport Airport just to see what we were looking at. The airport's virtually abandoned. Nobody's there.
Yeah, there's not much there.
They said that no unauthorized vehicles up there, so we basically took our lives in our hands by going, yes, what were you going to say, Raj?
But the one thing I did notice when we went up to the airport is that the restricted access road is tore up.
So they tore up the restricted access road?
Correct. When we went up there, when we stopped and I took a picture of the municipal airport sign, I looked over and the restricted access road is well used.
Yes. Okay. So now it's been well used, and we have reports of something being loaded onto a helicopter, black or otherwise, and then is taken from that airport, either placed on something like a truck or whatever, and then or flown to wherever. So I have to figure that what we may be seeing is we're seeing these boats beyond the breakers, beyond the wherever out there. When people look out on the horizon, they see boats that may have arc welders on them, arc welding, so they see these lights. Some of them, I'm not saying that all of them are what they're seeing. They see these strange arcing blue lights out there, which are whomever arc welding boxes. They're arc welding them closing them up. They're throwing over these boxes over the side of the boats. When they wash up, people see them, they panic, they wonder what they are. We have this Air Force guy writing UFO stories, alien big tales, tall tales, which has people, debunkers or skeptics going, this is all BS, nothing's happening at the beach, people are just lying to you. And then they come and they pick up the boxes and they take them somewhere. Wouldn't that be an interesting way to smuggle something in without being detected?
Actually, I have heard of that before.
Okay.
Now, what they would be smuggling in? What would the military be smuggling in?
Would the military be smuggling in, or are they trying are they trying to get it before it's smuggled in? Where they've been patrolling the beaches, taking it away? See, that's the thing. Why would the military be cleaning this stuff up? I mean, reports of men picking the stuff up, somebody officiating, that kind of thing.
I can tell you one thing, that since 9/11, what they put in all the seaports for customs and Homeland Security have put in, and I know this for a fact, that they've put in radioactive isotope detectors. Well, if a ship or anything comes into port and it's got anything radioactive in it, those alarms go off, and the Coast Guard will go out and they'll escort that boat back out in the deep water, or sink it, or whatever they need to do. But I'm going to tell you this: if they're not bringing the stuff into port and they're dropping it off on a deserted shoreline somewhere, the only thing I can think of is that something would be radioactive, and they don't want to bring it into port because it'll be detected automatically, whether it's through customs, through Homeland Security, whatever.
I mean, this could be more frightening than just an alien dropping a box off. That they're out there and they're putting radioactive stuff in these boxes, sealing them shut. The military finds them, they pick them up, and then they take them to a base nearby.
One other thing I want to bring your attention is that these people have been describing these boxes with a low frequency humming noise. The few people that have described them, And low-frequency noises underwater travel for hundreds of miles.
So you're saying there are beacons in them?
Possibly. It could be a low-frequency homing device, or because the sound travels a long ways in water. So
I just, that's the thing, is that we need to ask ourselves, what could they be putting together piece by piece, putting in boxes, throwing over the side, and then it's being picked up by the military or by someone who either has an interest in collecting these things or they have an interest of getting it before someone else gets their hands on it. What do you think, John?
Yeah, that's a definite possibility. I mean, that is the most plausible thing that I've heard.
Okay. Well, it's just I'm just kind of like putting it all together because so if we go in here, and I'm not going in from I never went in from aliens dropping boxes on the beach from any perspective at all. I didn't even, that's not, I mean, I hear the story, but do I believe it? Hell no. I don't believe that aliens leave boxes behind for people to find.
Yeah, no.
And I don't believe that someone who is writing for an internet paper who doesn't return phone calls is going to be telling me the truth. And so I meet someone like you who's telling me the truth and being honest about it. We go down there. We realize it's difficult to take pictures. We have locals saying, yes, the boxes were there. We saw them. We have locals saying the boxes glow. The boxes have all these traits. They make noise. They make sound. We have military flying over, grabbing these things, loading them, taking out to the Newport Airport where no one can see them because the Newport Airport's pretty secluded anyway. It's out there. I mean, you can go up to it, but there's nothing really going on there. So who would even suspect anything? Flying it out, where's the nearest place they could land it, Raj? I mean, you lived on the coast. Where would they be able to take it?
The nearest military facility would be Camp Riley in Warrington, or if they're going to put them on a truck, they could take them into Portland, and then there's a little depot there, and they can go on to Fort Lewis Air Force Base in Tacoma.
Well, they could land. They land big. They have the capability to land big jet airliners at Newport Airport.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen big planes come in there.
Ah, okay. Well, it is a pretty big space. I mean, we went up there to look for it. So, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. In the meantime, so right now we're at the point where we're throwing out the whole alien thing, and we're saying, here's something practical to sink your teeth into, and no one else is going to go here because we've been there, we've seen it. Yes, something is washing up on shore. It's completely welded shut inside a box. No one's supposed to get into it except whoever. It's like putting a genie in a bottle or a message in a bottle. They know who's going to get the message. They pick up the message and they deliver it where it needs to be delivered. Something is being brought in under the radar. That's the only logical thing we can go with, John.
And it's common knowledge that the cartel does do things in this way.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's very covert. 503-417-9595. 503-417-9595 or 1-877-733-1011. This is what you're not going to hear anywhere else. We had to tell you the background and what's going on. If you felt that everything you heard on the internet, saw on the internet was real or whatever, throw it all out. This is a decoy story to take your mind and your thoughts away from the possibility that something's being snuck in or sneaked in under the radar. It's being done very, very, very quietly without anybody knowing in areas where you can't access unless you're really wanting to get there. 503-417-9595 or 1-877-733-1011. We'll be back with more. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
FM News 101 KXL.
This is Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis. Weeknights at 9, only on KXL. Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
So what we're doing is we're trying to come up with ideas as to why boats would go out beyond the breakers, weld boxes, and throw them over the side, and then having them be collected by authorities and taken away. That would mean people would have to be vigilant in watching the beaches to see if any strange military activity is going on. Now, there's been reports of that going on. There have been reports of all kind of crazy things happening. But then, of course, as we said, fire officials and others are saying that they will not cooperate with any investigation because they're saying they're NOAA buoys and people are hallucinating. They're not NOAA buoys. They're not anything that anyone can put their finger on. They know that there are boxes. They know that there are things out there. But what are the purpose? What are they doing? And so we're trying to come to some sort of agreement. And people are talking in the chat room right now, maybe wanting to go back, looking into stuff. I don't know. There's a lot of people saying they'd like to go back, John, and try and find out what's going on. Maybe you should give your number, and maybe we should organize something. Who knows?
Absolutely. I was just watching a science video on magnets and how they work, and the thought of forming a posse to come on down and let's all get together, bring digital cameras and plasma cutters and binoculars, and
we call it box recon. I think my fiance is trying to organize that right now. She goes, "This is something that she wants to find. She wants to find out what these boxes are and what's in them."
Yeah, let's do this. I mean, my number's all over the web, and let's start looking for these boxes. Now, another thing that has crossed my mind is, the basic principles of a magic trick.
Mm-hmm.
Flash one hand while you do something in the other.
That's right.
Now, maybe they got people looking towards Yachats and Stonefield Beach and Brays Point,
right,
when they're doing something somewhere else.
So we'd have to go the full scale from Newport, Lincoln City, and beyond to find out just what if anything is happening on the other beaches as well, the whole coast.
Exactly.
That's going to take a lot of time. So I'll tell you what, let's talk more about that. Maybe we can organize this. John Henry's my guest tonight on Ground Zero with Roger Cluton from Northwest Coast Recon. We're talking about the strange boxes on the beach, and now it's turning into a quest. We want to find the boxes. We'll look for them. We'll organize a group. If anybody wants to do this, let us know. Numbers to call tonight, 503-417-9595 or 1-877-733-1011. And if you do go on this little get-together, you'll find out just how hard it is to do an investigation in that area. It's difficult. Maybe with more people, we'd be able to find stuff. I mean, it's cold, it's wet, it's crazy. I don't know. We'll see what we can do with that. 503-417-9595 or 1-877-733-1011. Do you have any ideas on what would be put in boxes and thrown overboard in order for the military or someone else to pick up? Give us a call. Let us know. We'll be back. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
FM News 101 KXL.
Some of the scenes you will witness may appear to border on fantasy.
Stand by. You have 5 seconds. 5. Information is free. 4, 3, there is hope. 1.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." The loudspeaker spoke up and said, "Wait, Jimmy." Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy. Wait, Jimmy.
I'm Craig Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. Getting a lot of interesting emails. I was going over during the break. I can't get to all of them. Let's see. Okay. Somebody's sending me emails. Yeah, okay, we know. Yeah, okay. Someone's sending me emails saying that Dave Masco is a fraud. And I think, I don't know, they're saying that he's an internet hoaxer and he's a fraud. I think we've established, John, that his story does not measure up, right?
Yeah, absolutely not.
Okay, so we've established that.
Yeah. What we do have is we've got a picture of a box on the beach. Now, I think, everybody that makes up a story usually has some basis to their story.
Right.
And I think this box is the basis. I haven't found the box, so I can't say that, I haven't looked at it. And until I find it, I'm I'm keeping an open mind, and I think that's very important in this. Is that everybody keep an open mind, think outside the box, keep your head on a swivel. When you think something's happening here, it could be over there. Now, I am at the epicenter of this whole thing, but I can't be everywhere all at once. And the best way to find something is with a whole lot of eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the guys on the blog sites have said, why are you guys sitting around and do something? Well, I'm out there every single day since the 9th looking for these boxes.
Mm-hmm.
I am very skeptical, but I keep looking.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like, I'm here. I'm in the position. So, it's walking distance from my house. So I would invite everybody and anybody that wants to come and form a posse to go find these boxes. Come on out. There's a campground and the Seaview Motel.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the manager there, and he can get you some discounts on the guys. I'll supply free coffee for everybody that wants to come out and search with me.
That sounds great. Well, and that's the thing too, is that I see these people who come on and they say, well, we got to do this, and they don't even want to go out and they don't even want to explore. They just want to sit back on their internet and tell you, well, this is how I see it. Well, you don't see anything, because if you're not there, you don't know. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go out to the location, because I wanted to see just exactly how much of Mesco's story measures up and how much doesn't. I wanted to see if any of these skeptics had merit. And what I mean by, and that's the thing, is that skepticism is curiosity. It has nothing to do with debunking. And there are a number of people out there that they've already made up their minds, and they want to try to convince everybody of their findings when they haven't even ventured out to find out anything.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that's the most annoying, is that with something as high profile as this, and something as close is what we have here, and going out there, and you find out for sure what's happening, and you read what people are saying and the observances that people are making. I'm thinking, how the hell are they making these observances when they don't? Ryan called and he said, okay, I saw tire tracks on the beach, and he's been there, he's down there. And I'd like to see if, and other people saying, well, there should be more pictures. Well, if there are, do you have a picture? Is there anyone else that has a picture? If they do, we'd love to see it. But no, what we have is we have a guy who's made this story, but then we have locals who say, yeah, we've seen everything that this guy's talking about, but a lot of things he's saying aren't necessarily so. So it's a fabrication. It's disinformation. And in disinformation, there's a lot of truth. It's a big kernel of lie with a little truth put in just for good measure. So, yes, there's something going on, but what? We don't know.
In everything, the way that you have approached this, when you were out here and we talked, very rational, very scientific, exploring all options of what this could be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that whole keeping an open mind. I am trying to bite my tongue about saying anything about Dave Masco.
Well, he did write me and say that he would give me more information, and I'm just wondering if he doesn't, because I wrote him and I said, look.
Well, I think he's just trailing because he gets on the blog sites, and he said there's been no movement on the boxes. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah,
There's been no movement on the boxes.
And I saw another article that said people are afraid to go to the beach because of the boxes. I'm going, where the hell are the boxes? Yeah. If people are afraid to go to the beach, they're afraid to go to the beach because of the damn tide. I mean, geez, the waves were huge and they were scary. I mean, that's why people are afraid to go there, not because there were like wandering people, young people going down there saying, "Are you here for the boxes?" You know, everybody's like, "Oh, we're here to see the boxes." It's almost like a tourist attraction now because people are like filtering in to see them.
Well, I tell you real quick, the waves are a huge issue, and people get washed away and killed by the waves around here all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do come down here, always keep your head on a swivel and keep your eye on those waves as you're walking along.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was really embarrassing. Let's go to David. David, hi, you're on ground. I go, there goes a new pair of shoes. Hi, David, you're on ground zero.
This is a really interesting story, Clyde. One thing you guys haven't talked about is the dimensions of the boxes that I've heard of. I just joined you. But I wanted to comment, this whole story reminds me of what happened during World War II when the Japanese sent those balloons over, those balloon bombs.
Mm-hmm.
And you know why it did that? Because, we're in conflict, maybe not actual war with countries like North Korea and Iran. And one of the most vulnerable areas of our coast is some of these remote beaches and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody was able to send in dirty bombs or anything like that along the coast,
right.
Some of the fishing fleets of the world are national, particularly that fish all different waters, within the territorial waters. And I can't remember what America's territorial shore limit is. What is it, 12 miles or something? So they could send in
20.
potential weapons that could be dirty bombs because they maybe don't have the missiles or anything like that to reach out and get us from their own countries at this point. But that's just something I thought about. And what about the dimensions of these boxes now?
You go ahead and give the dimensions, John.
5 feet by 5 feet by 20, and that 20 inches.
Yeah.
So they're 5 feet square and 20 inches thick. If somebody's welding these boxes shut, then there's got to be something in them. You wouldn't just weld an empty box shut. And, it's pretty tricky to weld a box shut. You have to let it cool down before you lay the last bead. I know I've done a lot of welding in my time because if you try to weld it while it's hot, it'll when it cools down, it'll collapse. So if they are welded shut, somebody knows what they're doing, and they've done this before.
Well, at that size, that could be military ordnance in a box that large.
It could be full of machine guns. It could be full of cocaine.
Yeah, that's the thing is the speculation now is what's in the box,
It could be full of Starbucks beans.
Yeah, it could be anything, but, why go to all the trouble? Because they want to not have to pass through customs or checking. Something washes up on the shore of a remote beach area. They know where to pick it up because no one else is going to get to it as fast as they can get to it. That's why the rumors are there. And here's another thing to think about, John, David, and others. We just came off of a week of, something being tested over the skies of Portland, a vehicle that left a trail that did a complete 90-degree turn. We had FAA, we had all these other groups saying, hey, we were told to stand down and not talk about this. So something's going on over the skies of this area. We just got posted. If you go to groundzero.media.org, front page, it says here, while going to the creek location, the clouds parted. I caught this UFO on camera. It's a triangle. It's amazing. We've got it posted right now on the front page of Ground Zero. It was taken 2 days ago. This UFO over the Portland area or whatever, the Oregon area. He didn't say exactly.
Breaking news?
Just go to groundzero.media.org. Then scroll down past all the stuff at the beginning, and you will see there's a video right on the front page, and it's a flying triangle. It's an amazing-looking triangle right there. So we've got something going on here. They're testing stuff, whether it be drones or they're testing the ability for these drones to find things like boxes that have beacons on them or whatever. This is something more interesting than aliens, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, David, I thank you for your call and thank you for your thoughts.
Thank you, Clyde. Take care.
You bet. Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah, the video now on the front page of groundzeromedia.org is amazing. You should take a look at it.
I'm watching it right now.
What do you think?
Where is this located?
It just says that during a trip through the creek location, we shot this as the clouds parted.
the creek location.
He didn't specify, did he? He just there it is though. It's in the sky. You hear him talking, and it's an amazing shot. It's all three red lights with a red light in the middle.
Well, now the lights that I was telling you about, that I wanted you to stay until it got dark.
Yeah.
They flash red, blue, and green, and they're in the sky. You can see them almost every single night. Now, that night that you were here, the day that you were here, when it got dark, there hasn't been a star. I haven't been able to see a star in the sky, and same with tonight. It's real dark out.
Well, he said this was shot a couple of days ago. I think it was the 6th, if I recall. I could go back and look at the video. It was shot a few days earlier, but it says, the clouds parted, we shot this UFO. And there it is. It's an amazing shot. So we're going to take a break right now. John Henry's with us, also Roger Cluton from Northwest Coast Recon. We're discussing the strange boxes washing ashore on the beaches, the South Beaches. And, of course, now we're getting ready to organize again, perhaps, a party to go down and see if we can find this. 503-417-9595 or 1-877-733-1011. Now, a question. If anyone out there is listening that has seen any kind of strange activity where perhaps these boxes were on the backs of trucks or being delivered by chopper or a helicopter, if you saw strange helicopter activity with these boxes, we'd like to hear from you now, because this is another thing we need to look at. There's the possibility that they're moving these things off the beaches and they're moving them to a secure location, whatever they may be. 503-417-9595 or 1-877-733-1011. We'll be back with more. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
FM News 101 KXL.
This is not a test. It is the future. Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
Strange boxes on the coast. John Henry's my guest, along with Roger Cluton with the Northwest Coast Recon. We go now to Todd. Todd, hi, you're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
How you doing, Clyde?
Good.
Hey, just wanted to let you know, I'm out on the backside of the Coast Range towards Portland, and seen some really weird stuff out this way, either coming from the coast or going towards the coast.
Okay, what are you seeing?
Well, the weirdest thing is we see weird lights and all that all the time. We night fish, but the weirdest thing we saw was 2 black helicopters. We heard them coming from the north, saw the one red light on each one of them, and as they came towards us, we were on the lake fishing about 1 or 2 in the morning. They slowed down and they were low enough you could see the gunners, hanging outside. Mm-hmm. And they were really tight black helicopters, like they were really light loaded. Mm-hmm. And they went past us and kind of went about 100 yards past us, and they lit up the tree line on the backside of the lake and started searching. We've seen all kinds of weird stuff up here that lights we can't explain. I've seen a triangle big enough; it had to be at least a mile across. That it couldn't land anywhere, and took off towards Hillsboro. And they just kind of disappeared in the sunset. And there's just a lot of weird things going on out this direction that I just can't explain.
So you've been seeing a lot of weird things when you're fishing at night, and and so that, I guess that concurs with what we're talking about. That maybe something strange. What do you want to say, Rod?
I said I want to know where you're at. Maybe you can call me later after the show. I'll coordinate with you. I want to go out there and I want to investigate that.
I would love to do that. Actually, if I can get your number, because basically, my brother and I don't video. We don't do anything because I guess it's weird, but we think that if we do something like that, they'll stop coming around. But I would love to have you guys out and kind of check this out if I can get your number.
Right. I'm actually from the Hillsboro area originally, so
okay.
If we can coordinate, I'll maybe.
You want me to put him on hold, and then we can have Austin exchange numbers.
I'll give my number to Austin.
That would be great. I'd love to take you out fishing. We'll catch some big fish and see some weird stuff. So.
All right, Todd, hang on the line. We'll get that information to you. And obviously strange stuff going on, John, that people are seeing. And so, what do you say to that? Have you seen any of this reports of the black helicopters, maybe military activity in that area?
I have not seen any black helicopters. I have not seen any National Guard out here. I saw one state police truck drive by, and he was just driving by. But the lights in the sky, I see them just about every night, and you would just have to come out here, and they're in the southern sky, and just if you got good eyes or a telescope or binoculars, you might be able to get a fix on them. They flash red, blue, and green.
What do you think about Ken Kesey's claims about the area, Brays Point, being an area of alien activity? You know, he's written about alien colonies, lizard men, and all kinds of strange things going on in that area.
Well, all the people around here seem really normal, really down to earth. But I have heard about a lot of strange things happening around Stonefield.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, I showed you the grave site. Actually, showed Roger.
Yeah.
And I have heard stories of strange things going on at night at Stonefield.
Yeah, Stonefield's one of those strange areas. I mean, I'd never been in that area before. I was expecting something totally different, and what I got was something that, if you really want to find it, you will find it, but you really have to go through hell to get to it.
Yeah, I mean, now, just like the ocean, this place changes, you know, from day to day. Like, you know, today would have been a great day to walk around for you, because it was beautiful and sunny and a bit on the cold side, but when it's raining and windy and, you know, sand's getting in every nook and cranny and your camera's getting wet and sandy, it's just absolutely miserable.
Very difficult to get pictures, especially if you're taking pictures of boxes and you want to make sure that everybody can see every detail. John Henry is my guest tonight on Ground Zero, a local there, right there at Brays Point, and also Stonefield Beach, the areas where these boxes have turned up. Many people there, locals, they've seen them. They're not there now. Where'd they go? Some people are saying they've been flown out of there, brought to Newport Airport, and taken to a base somewhere. A lot of people seeing black helicopters and strangeness. What have you seen? 503-417-9595 or 1-877-733-1011. We'll be back with more. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
FM News 101 KXL.
Dream on. Dream on.
There are these strange metal boxes everywhere, and you know, people don't know, you know, what they are. You know, all they know is they're very heavy and they're emitting some sort of noise or glow, or it's just weird. You know what I mean?
Dream on.
Military knows what it is, and they're taking it to camp. Maybe they're taking it to Camp Riley and moving to.
It's just weird. You know what I mean?
Some of the fishermen I've heard stories, and it's been in the news, that they find bodies in crab pots. And yeah, you don't want them. They just found a human head in a crab pot.
It's just weird. You know what I mean? It's weird. You know what I mean? It's weird. You know what I mean?
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The weird story of the boxes. What are they? Why is it they're not around now? And are we going to go back and see if we can try and find them? My guest tonight, John Henry. Also, Roger Cluton is with us from Northwest Coast Recon. He went with me over the weekend to investigate this situation. What we found out was there are a lot of questions unanswered. Some of the stories are tall tales, they're not real. And other people claiming they're seeing military activity or military activity going on in the area. Perhaps they're seeing all kinds of strangeness happening. Who knows? But in the meantime, we got to go to this call right now. Let's go to Chris. Hi, Chris. You're on Ground Zero. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, Justin. You're on Ground Zero. Go ahead.
Hi, Clyde.
Hi, Justin. What's up?
Hey, so Sunday at between about 3:30 and 4 o'clock, I was coming back on the Washington side off the 205 bridge, and off to my right, coming off of Highway 14, I see two military flatbed trucks and what appear to be full of these boxes. For me, they looked like about 4 by 4, but you guys say 5 by 5. That's pretty close to me.
Now you related this story to Roger firsthand, and Roger, when you talked with him, we didn't even mention the military at all.
Correct.
Did you ask Justin what the dimensions of these boxes were?
Right. I asked him, and I didn't even give him any hint that we even knew anything about it. But I asked him, he gave me the dimensions, and I said that's close enough for me.
What did they look like to you, Justin? What were the dimensions?
They look like they were about 4 by 4 boxes. But when you guys were saying 5 by 5, that sounds close enough. So, but they looked like they were. They were kind of hard to see because it was in passing. We were going about 65, 70, and they were about. They looked like grayish metal boxes. They looked like they'd been used. They didn't look new at all. So, but they didn't look like they were trying to hide them either.
So they looked like they've been used a lot. They looked like they were not trying to hide them. How many boxes would you say you saw on the flatbed truck?
From the side I was on, it looked like maybe about. I don't know how far back that truck went. It was maybe about 6 or 7 boxes on the side I was on. So if you could figure that out, how many go across, no.
So you didn't know what the boxes were. You just said you saw them on the flatbed and just thought, well, that's pretty bizarre, or you just didn't care.
My wife and I thought it was kind of bizarre. She'd actually seen about 2 days prior. She said she'd seen on 84. She'd seen 2 empty flatbed trucks. So I don't know. Not that I guess it's all relative. But.
So this was on the 205. You saw them. They were going north.
Yep.
And where were you at on the 205?
I was heading north myself. I just passed them.
But whereabouts were you? Were you in Portland? Were you in Washington? Where were you?
Vancouver. I had just come off the 205 bridge. It was on the Vancouver side by the Mill Plain exit.
So they were going by the Mill Plain exit, and they were going north.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, Justin, I thank you so much for calling and giving us that information.
Yeah, no problem.
Take care. Bye-bye. There you go. Flatbed truck, John, carrying near Washington some boxes that, dimensionally speaking, are quite similar to the ones we want to go find.
Yeah, it sounds like it very well could be. And looking at the box on the beach here, I found another picture of it.
Yeah?
With a dog standing next to it.
Right.
And it looks like it could be closer to 4 by 4.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that could be. I just think it's interesting that somebody saw them on a flatbed. Let's go to Brett. Brett, hi, you're on Ground Zero.
Yeah, Clyde. I was interested into seeing what you guys were talking about, so I looked it up on YouTube. And the second one that I punched in boxes on beach.
Right.
And it says the second one that comes in, it was posted by the Cosmos News 4 days ago.
Uh-huh.
And I listened to the whole thing, and it says actually that there was the same sightings were in Sri Lanka. They found the same things in Sri Lanka in the early 90s, and some in 2004 and 2005. The British government had photos of them, and that they were called the Sri Lankan beach boxes.
Really?
And yeah, and that they just declassified some of this stuff. You can go check it out.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's interesting. So Sri Lanka and parts of Britain also had these boxes come on shore.
Yes, they said that they were washed up on shore, and that the people there in Sri Lanka had reported it, and that the British government was there taking pictures of it. And there's also some stuff they said on the internet that you could find about the Sri Lankan beach boxes.
Did they say what was inside of the boxes at all?
No.
Wow. Okay. Well, this is kind of like those huge metal balls that have fallen out of the sky as well in some places. It's almost the same story.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of those.
Yeah,
but, they said that there was just some. They said that there was just some recently declassified stuff that was on the internet about these.
Well, I'll have to look into that. Sri Lankan boxes, British boxes
Sri Lankan
as well.
beach boxes.
Sri Lankan beach. Thank you, Brett, for that. I'll look it up tonight. Thank you so much.
Clyde.
Take care. Bye-bye. Wow, a lot of stuff now coming on about what people know about these boxes. Go to Chris now. Hi, Chris. You're on Ground Zero.
Clyde, Roger, and John, what a great show you have going on tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
I've got a suggestion for John. I didn't hear it. Do you have an unobstructed view of the beach?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Are you familiar with how to set up a time-lapse, camera?
No, I don't have a camera.
Okay.
I've been begging my nephew to bring his down. And I was going to go down and buy a video camera down in Florence, and but the guy already sold it off Craigslist. So I'm in need of a camera. I've got a pair of binoculars and a sledgehammer. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, he brought the sledgehammer with him. I thought it was funny, especially with the name John Henry. He's got a big old sledgehammer. It's funny as hell.
What I suggest is that you look into something called CHDK. It's how to hack your camera into a time-lapse, actually make it into a super camera. And you can do it for really cheap.
Yeah.
It's what we use, and what I would suggest is, pointing it at the beach and letting it run. And you might be able to find some activity that, a normal person watching all day wouldn't see.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. I think getting as many people here as possible would be the absolute best, because then cameras will show up, and hopefully I will have a digital camera tomorrow.
Well, you know what you ought to do, John, is we're friends on Facebook. Go on the Ground Zero page, Ground Zero radio page, and post the number for the gathering and see if anybody wants to take interest in it. And if they do, we can organize it, go back to the beach, we'll go back to where you're at, and hopefully we can do it on a day where the tide's not bad, where we can go. We look, in fact, Marcy, who was at the 76 station, said that she had heard that they were all down the South Beach areas, that they're turning up in other places too. So who knows?
Well, Clyde, Chris, and John. John, Chris is one of my team members that's on the phone with you. Me and Chris could possibly come down and set up a time-lapse camera in your front room if you're okay with that.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I mean,
it's really simple.
Chris, are you down with that, or?
Yeah, I should have ditched work and gone down with you guys previously.
Believe me, it was all deviled eggs and sandwiches, and thank you, Dina, for the deviled eggs. I ate them on the way back, and I tell you what, they were pretty good. They were all right.
Keep the windows rolled down.
Yeah. No, actually, I turned the heat up and kept them up.
Yeah, he had no soles left on his shoes when he got home.
Great show, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris.
Can't believe Chris said that. Because that's basically what it was. Anyway.
You brought up the deviled egg.
Yes, I did. And here's the one that made them. Dina, hi, you're on Ground Zero.
Hi. Chris took my question from me for John Henry about a time-lapse camera, but I did have something else I wanted to add. I've been talking to some friends on the very northern Oregon coast in Clatsop County, Oregon today, just in the past hour, and there has been a lot of increased military helicopter activity there, and one friend had actually seen a Black Hawk. I don't know if that ties in with
a Black Hawk helicopter?
And here's something else very interesting that seems kind of off the wall, but it might tie in with all this weird activity on the coast. There was a shooting in Astoria by three Astoria policemen were involved in. They're on administrative duty. They chased a man clear through the county and down Highway 101, I guess. It started at the Lamplighter Hotel. The interesting thing is, for just some guy on the run, they brought in the FBI and Homeland Security, is what I was told. I've not verified this for myself, but several locals have told me they've seen Homeland Security and the FBI in the area, and that seems very odd. I just think that's very odd, because I grew up in that area, and that is just a strange activity.
Well, someone, like I said, someone had told me they saw a strange man on the beach during this time with his boxes. He was wearing a black overcoat, and he was wearing he wore a kerchief over his face to hide his face.
It was probably Dave Masco.
Yeah, probably Dave Masco. But they're just saying that, it was kind of odd with all the so-called military activity and all this other stuff. They were saying that, maybe in fact, they even suggested that the MIBs were in the area doing work, that the FBI was there, that other people were maybe around looking around the beaches trying to figure this out. That the whole Dave Masco thing is a big cover story for the real idea of what's happening. And they say that some covert activities going on with the boxes, the military, and the UFO sightings and everything that have been happening there are real, but they just can't buy the story that aliens are leaving behind this big calling card of a box. They just don't think it's so.
No. And I don't think it's aliens either. And albeit this is at the completely other end of the Oregon coast from where you were at, but it just seems really overkill for some idiot who is high and running from the police for Homeland Security and the FBI.
Yeah,
I mean,
weirder things have happened, I'm sure.
like that's almost a pretense to bring them into the area because locals of small towns notice right away if somebody's sticking out. They know.
Well, and
there's no hiding.
and Dina, as you well know, and I'm sure John would concur, the police departments in Astoria and several areas along the beach aren't exactly the greatest in the world.
I work on cold cases in Clatsop County, Oregon. I concur heartily with that.
Yeah, well, Dina, thank you for the call. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
they're extremely zealous about their work.
But
I wouldn't say anything negative about them. I would just say that
to save your soul, you wouldn't say anything bad about them. And come on, wouldn't you say that they're pretty incestuous? They're cliquish and they have their own people they want to pick on?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, it just seems to me that if they really wanted to, they could plot to keep a big secret. And that even if aliens did land tomorrow and they were among everybody there on the beach, I'm sure that if they knew about it, they wouldn't say a damn thing about it. In fact, they'd probably get paid off to keep their mouth shut.
I like how they did the Obi-Wan Kenobi deal. It's a Noah buoy. It's a Noah buoy.
Yeah. I swear she was trying to use the force on me.
It's a Noah buoy.
These aren't the boxes you're looking for.
And, then I went and Googled Noah buoys. Nothing like that.
We Googled Noah buoys, too. They look nothing like that.
They look they look like one of those tops that you spin and sit on the floor, the bottoms of them.
No kidding.
Not even close.
So there is a cover-up. We don't know what it is yet.
I also looked into EPIRBs.
EPIRBs, what's that?
EPIRBs. And those are
emergency homing devices for boats when they turn over and capsize.
Yeah. And, if you go out on a raft, or on a dinghy from your boat, you bring an EPIRB with you in case you get lost.
So those boxes aren't EPIRBs either.
And, I Googled EPIRB sounds and EPIRBs. I called a friend of mine who's a fisherman. I said, do EPIRBs make any sounds? He said, no, they're totally silent.
Well, it sounds like,
that's what I know about EPIRBs.
Well, we got a story, we got some strangeness, we got a mystery on our hands. It's like a puzzle that needs to be looked. Maybe we shouldn't get near it. I don't know, but I'm just saying.
Hey, I ain't scared.
You're not scared at all?
We know that, John.
I ain't scared.
No, you and your sledgehammer. No,
yeah.
I don't know.
I posted one thing. I don't care if it's glowing, buzzing, humming, or ticking. I'm bashing it open, and I thought about it. Well, maybe if it's ticking, now that might make me think twice. Now,
somebody actually posted, just bring a hammer and bang on it really hard. I'm going, yeah, you do that. I'm going to stand back and wait for the wave to take me away.
Let's blow it up.
Yeah, like what's her name said. Yeah, they've come down and blown stuff up before. So
yeah, we had the military come down. We've had to have the military come down here and blow things up before.
You know that when they blew that whale up, it's still on the internet. If anybody wants to go watch it, it's the Oregon Coast whale.
Yeah, they blow stuff
500-pound chunks of flubber crushing cars in the parking lot a quarter mile away.
It blowed up real good.
Yeah.
John Henry's with us tonight on Ground Zero, local there, the South Beaches, Brays Point, and also Stonefield Beach, talking about the boxes. Yeah, real story happening. Tall tales spun everywhere. We're getting down to the bottom of it, and we still have some unanswered questions we want to get to. And, of course, John's more than willing to establish and put together a posse to investigate more because we want to get down to the bottom of this. What is going on in the South Beaches of the Oregon coast? Big stories about aliens, UFOs, boxes, military activity. What is it that has everybody so captivated? Just the strangeness and the cover-up happening now. 503-417-9595 or 1-877-733-1011. We'll be back. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
FM News 101 KXL.
Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
John Henry and Roger Cluton are my guests tonight on Ground Zero. We're talking about the boxes on the coast. We go quickly to Kurt. Kurt, hi, you're on Ground Zero.
How are you doing, Clyde?
Good, Kurt. Go ahead. What's on your mind?
Hey, I drive truck at nighttime, from Portland area all the way up to Seattle. And Sunday night, I didn't even know anything about these black boxes I heard you guys talking about today, but Sunday night, a military truck flatbed that was partially dark had two black boxes on them. I don't know what they were, but I followed them all the way up I-5 to exit 120, which is Lewis McCord exit, and they took that exit around between 2:30 and 3 o'clock in the morning, probably right in there. And I just thought it was strange that you were talking about these black boxes. I seen that Sunday night.
So you're a truck driver.
Yeah.
You followed an 18-wheel flatbed truck carrying black boxes to McCord Air Force Base.
It was a military truck.
All right. And you followed it for how long?
Well, from Portland at like about 12:15, it was probably around 2:30 or so, and they took mile marker 120, exit 120, which is Lewis McCord exit. That's a military base.
Kurt, thank you for that valuable information. We'll be tracking this. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Take care. There you go, John. What do you think?
I'm starting to think we might actually have some boxes.
Yep, we do, and they're following them, and they're picking them up.
And they're sneaky.
And no one knows what's in them, and they're driving them to Air Force bases.
And another thing that's for sure is our government does not tell us everything.
No, they don't. And this is an easy way to get them past whatever it is they need to get them past. And this is some secret operation that's being done in these remote beaches. Some people see it. We have a guy who allegedly says that he was a reporter for the Air Force. Maybe he's setting out the UFO story to have people not want to go to it.
You know, these boxes have washed up so close together. If one was at Stonefield and one was at Brays Point, I know some places around here that I'm going to be checking tomorrow.
Okay. Well, post your phone number on my Ground Zero Facebook page, and maybe we can organize another trip out there. I know that Northwest Coast Recon is game again. I know the Rogers game again. My fiance Janine was also organizing in the chat room some things. But John, thank you so much. Good night from Ground Zero. We'll be in touch.
Thanks, John.
All right, thank you guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's the Ground Zero for tonight. We will see you tomorrow night with more information. Take care.
FM News 101 KXL.